Okay, I'm going to make a video here trying to explain to you how I finally made my nitrate problem go away. Now, when I first got this, first of all, I'll let you know, I've got this tank running now for over 2 years now, about 2.25 years, and I've never had an all-right system crash, an all-out system crash. But I have had my nitrates up and down, I tried to get my water as perfect as possible because I wanted to have all the nice SPS corals and stony corals and so on. But I was struggling with my nitrates. Up and down, 20, 40, 100, 80, 20, so on, back and forth, changing the water to get them down, but it still kept creeping back up. Now, it was a very common kind of thing where I was getting the nitrates going up just at a steady rate, having to replace the water, but I really wanted a system that was as close to perfect as possible. So here's the stages that I did in my attempts, and then I'll tell you the final thing that absolutely worked. Started out with a 125-gallon tank, had a small 20-gallon sump, and gravel in the tank and so on. Then I wanted to put more fish in it, and I wanted to stabilize or try and neutralize the nitrate problem as much as possible. So what I did is I plumbed. I don't have enough room down here for a big sump, so I plumbed through the wall, and I added a 45-gallon plastic drum. Fill it up with water, put some sand in the bottom. That overflows through the wall, and the pump here pumps it back up through the wall. Okay, so that helped a little bit. Nitrates were a little bit more under control, but still kept creeping up. And I knew I could add 1 or 2 more fish without any problem. Still didn't work the way I wanted it though. So I put another 125-gallon tank plumbed into the system. So now I have 2 125-gallon tanks and a 55-gallon drum, all my protein skimmers and so on. And it was helping. I can add lots of fish in there now. I could crowd the display tank with fish, but it was still climbing up. Now I bought a CAD bio pellet nitrate remover, and they work great apparently, but my nitrates, all it did was slow the climb a little bit. So I got a second one, and that slowed the climb a little bit more, but it didn't stop it. I added my denitrate coil, which works actually quite well. Everything coming out of there is purely, absolutely denitrated water. But it was still climbing up. I went away on a holiday. I had friends looking after it, and when I got back, my nitrates were up to 160 according to an API test kit. Now, things were not doing too bad. The fish were alive. The corals were reasonably happy, but it was absolutely plastered with algae in there. So I scraped off the algae, and I changed a lot of the water. A lot of the water, 90%, to bring the nitrate levels down. And I got it down to about 40. But it still started climbing again. But what happened then is a lot of things died. It shocked it. That was too much of a water change. And also, here's the trick. Here's the ticket that fixed my problem. I used to have crushed coral gravel in there. I changed it. So what I did, since all the corals were dying off, is I took all of the live rock, what was left of the corals, and the fish, and put them in my sump. Then I shut off the pump that pumps the water into this display tank. I completely emptied this, scrubbed it out, basically sterilized the tank, took the gravel out, and replaced it with this number 0 sand. Now when I cleaned out the gravel underneath it was like sewage. There was dead, decaying material everywhere. A light went on my head, and that's where the nitrates were coming from. Okay, so what I did is I took some of the gravel, just a little bit off the surface, the stuff that wasn't gross, and put them in ice cream buckets. So now I've got cycled gravel, got the cycled live rock, and I've got almost 200 gallons of cycled water in this system. So I put the sand in, I turned on the pumps. let it all circulate for 24 hours. Then all I had to do is put the live rock straight in, what's left of my corals, straight in the tank, the fish straight in the tank, and nothing shocked and nothing died. And that's been for a little while now since I did that, and my nitrates are hovering around 3 and 5. Now all these systems do work. The large water volume, lots of flow, the biopellet filters, the denitrate coral, all of that works. But it's not going to work when you have a sewage pit of gravel decaying on the bottom of it. So there was my ticket. Finally, I found it. In my opinion, do not use crushed coral for a gravel substrate. It traps little microorganisms. They live, they die, they cycle through their life, and it causes a mess. You can use it, however, if you cover it in 2 inches of sand. The main reason of the sand here is that nothing can get into it, and it stars it of oxygen to the bottom. Now I don't even have a lot of it in here. It's more for display purposes than anything else. But the live rock and the sumps and everything takes care of the biology. Now there's a double bonus to this. I might have to move next year. Now what I do now is all I have to do is take the live rock out, put it in buckets, drain the water right out to the sand. There's only 50 pounds of sand in there. Take the ice cream buckets of cycled gravel out. Take all the other stuff out. Just keep it wet. And then I can move things without having a complete disaster. So that was how I fixed my nitrate problem. The number one biggest problem I had that I didn't even know until I actually did this drastic rescue of my tank was I changed the crushed gravel to sand. Now, like, I was having nitrates go up as high as 160, and it was amazing things were staying alive. Now it is absolutely no problem keeping it 5 to 3, and as a matter of fact, 3 was my last test. I think it's dropping even further still. I might even be able to get this down to what registers as 0, so I can have my stony corals and my SPS like I've been planning all along. So thank you very much for watching. Please don't make any nasty, rude comments, as YouTube people can't seem to resist doing. I learned a lesson here, and hopefully you guys don't have to learn the lesson because you've seen how I learned it, and you can take my advice and do the best you do. So if you're making a reef tank, saltwater tank, please use sand. You won't regret it. It's the best thing you can do. Thank you very much. Ask any questions through the comments. Thank you for watching, and have a great time with your new saltwater aquarium.